Good afternoon, I'm Dennis Galucki. Welcome to the 532nd Imagine Greater Buffalo program and our 154th YouTube program, all hosted by our wonderful Buffalo and Erie County Public Library. Thank you for joining us today. This program is created by the Center for the Study of Art, Architecture, History, and Nature, or C-SAAHN as I pronounce the acronym, and imaginelifelonglearning.com. Now, before we get started, just a little housekeeping. Everyone watching will be muted and your video turned off. If you have a question or comment, please type it into the chat box and we'll go through them at the end of the presentation. We are recording this program so you can watch it again later on the Downtown Central Library's Facebook page and their YouTube channels. And we certainly hope you share the link with others. Now, on to our featured speaker today. Dr. Holly Schreiber is the Chief Scientist for the Buffalo Society of Natural Sciences. That's the group that operates the Buffalo Museum of Science and Tift Nature Preserve. She holds a doctorate in geology from the University of California, Davis, and has over 20 years of experience in science education. Today, she is going to discuss making science accessible for all. Good topic. Holly, take it away, Dr. Holly Schreiber.
Thank you. Thank you for having me today. Very excited to speak about this topic. Let me get my screen shared. Okay. And then a little bit of a delay here. Okay. There we go. All right. So thank you again for having me here today. I'm very excited to talk about what we are doing at the Buffalo Society of Natural Sciences and how we are getting everyone excited about science. So as Dennis said, the BSNS operates both the Buffalo Museum of Science and Tift Nature Preserve. Our mission is to inspire joyful exploration of science and nature through engaging experiences, unique resources, and exceptional staff. To me, this means our job is to demonstrate that science isn't for a select few, but for everyone. And our job is to make science approachable and accessible for everyone. I really love interacting with guests at the museum and other people out in the community and seeing their faces light up with understanding of whatever topic we're discussing. And that's especially true for kids. If we can inspire the next generation of scientists, I think we're doing something right. So before we get started, I just need to do, or I want to do a little bit of history of our organization, which I'm sure you've heard from other speakers in this series in the past, but just if you're unfamiliar with this. So starting in about 1836, the Young Men's Association was founded in the city of Buffalo. And as the Center for Organized Cultural Activities in the city, the association's committees dealt with the public library, science, literature, and art. And over the years, the association really amassed a huge collection of things like minerals and specimens and fossils, insects, and other articles of historic value. And this is what started or what eventually led to what we know today as the Buffalo Museum of Science. And in 1861, as the collections grew and the interest in natural sciences grew, the men decided to organize a natural history society. which is the Buffalo Society of Natural Sciences. And after several temporary locations around the city of Buffalo, and with the support of the city of Buffalo, the society opened the doors in 1929 to the Buffalo Museum of Science, which this shows here in this picture. And then in a long time later, in 1982, the museum entered into a commitment for the operation of Tift Nature Preserve, which is 264 acres right near Outer Harbor. I'm sure you're all familiar with it. But let's talk about how we're making science accessible for everyone. So let's go back to that mission statement. How do we inspire people, especially our younger guests, to explore science? First, through providing engaging experiences, and that's for all ages. Our unique resources as a science museum and our awesome staff are integral parts of that. So let's look at some examples. First, our science studios combine hands-on learning with rare collection items. So in this upper right corner, you can see a Triceratops there. This is our Rethink Extinct Science Studio. And it uses both hands-on exhibits and our collection items to really teach people about extinctions and the fossil record. This also applies to our current traveling exhibit, Curious George, Let's Get Curious. And this is showing our youngest visitors that science is about curiosity and exploring the world around you. Other examples include this middle picture. This is a special event at the museum. This is part of National Engineers Week, which falls during February break each year. Here we're partnering with other organizations to bring their expertise to our visitors through these engaging experiences. And finally, some last examples on this page are awesome staff and volunteers who regularly engage our visitors with stage shows and demonstrations. Again, illustrating how fun and approachable science can be. So the last slide focused mostly on family-friendly events, good for all ages, but we also strive to engage adults as well. You're never too old to learn. That's the whole premise of this speaker series. Here are some examples of programs focused on adults. Our Science After Hours series happens about every other month or so. And the first two pictures, the left picture and the middle picture, are pictures from this 21 and older event. And this allows adults to engage with the museum and a specific topic in a really fun and relaxed way. So the middle picture was our latest Science After Hours. It was eclipse focused. We partnered with Big Ditch Brewing with their Eclipse beer, but other topics in the past have been Get a Clue, our kind of game-focused, mystery-focused night, and topics vary widely. The other pictures on the slide are from our Sci-Night series. These are kind of smaller group experiences for adults. The themes and topics vary. Here are two recent examples from the last few months. The top example is the Lonely Hearts dissection, which personally I think is a very cool way to spend Valentine's Day, dissecting a heart. We also have collections tours that are part of Sci-Night. That's that lower right picture. So our staff members have so much knowledge on different topics and are very passionate about these topics that they can offer programs that are wildly different from one another. And our unique resources that we can draw from for programs, for exhibits, one of those things are our collections. So the museum, the Buffalo Museum of Science, houses more than 700,000 artifacts and specimens. A significant portion of that pertains to the greater Niagara region and forms really a record of life in all its forms, from anthropology, botany, geology, and zoology. In addition to the collections I just mentioned, we also have a teaching collection of about 5,000 or so objects that we use for hands-on programming, travel to schools, workshops, and programs with the general public. So it's really a unique thing to have here to be able to draw from this amazing collection. And the museum actively strives to demystify what happens behind the scenes. So here are a couple examples of that. So the first here are those behind the scenes collections tours that I mentioned previously. These are for guests 18 and up. This example on the left here is from the geology collection, looking at rocks and fossils. A couple other examples here are from our Collections Live series. These happen a few times a week. Topics vary, and then the topics also change throughout the year. But Collections Live is meant to really show our guests what's happening behind the scenes. So one of my favorites is this middle picture here, where it was a Collections Live on study skin, where our staff and volunteers showed our guests what they do and how they prepare pieces of the collection, organisms, to be preserved for people to study at a later time. And it was really engaging. People loved it. It's right outside my office, so I really got to see how our guests interact with that. And it was a really incredible experience. The other example we have here on the slide is a current example of a Collections Live going on. It's our amazing, awesome arthropoda, talking about our entomology collection. All right. So you may have, every time you drive past the museum, at least I do, my eyes go directly to the observatory on the museum's roof. This is another way, again, we are trying to engage the public. This opened in 1930. It was fully restored, the telescope was, and rededicated in September of 2018. And the roof deck and dome are both fully accessible to our museum guests. And periodically in the warm months, we have programming on the roof, both our Twilight at the Museum that happens throughout the warmer months, and our Solar Saturdays. So we can look forward to some of that coming up as the weather gets warmer. And then to kind of switch gears here to Tift Nature Preserve, and unfortunately, given time, we can't spend too long on it. I would love to talk more about Tift Nature Preserve, but we know, as I mentioned earlier, that the museum entered into this commitment to operate the 264 acres of Tift Nature Preserve in 1982. TIF's location is very unique. It allows anyone to get outside and experience. It's easy to get to. It's within the city limits, and it's free to the public. TIF offers a variety of programs, a lot of family-friendly stuff. I know in an example of our family, my daughter learned to fish there, which I think that's a great skill to have, and I would not have been able to give her that. TIF, I was able to do that. They also have those Science After Hours programs and Sci Nights throughout the year, just like the Buffalo Museum of Science. So like I said, I would love to talk more about what's going on there. There's lots and lots of stuff. But given time constraints, I'm going to move on to the ultimate inaccessible science events that will happen here in less than 2 weeks. And that, of course, is the total solar eclipse that's happening on April 8th of this year. So last year, the Society made the decision to close the museum and TIFT for the eclipse. And we want to see everyone outdoors. And again, as I said, it's the ultimate in accessible scientific events. As long as you have a clear view of the southwest sky and you're in Western New York, you will be able to see this total solar eclipse. We want our residents to have a safe and enjoyable experience with this eclipse. And we are doing everything we can to make that happen. So although we are closed on April 8th, we are fully committed to using staff resources for educational programming and outreach leading up to this event. And we have been busy. We've been planning for this event for years, but over the last 6 months, things have really taken off. We have distributed over 330,000 pairs of solar eclipse glasses. These are courtesy of Erie County to residents of Erie County. We've partnered with the Buffalo and Erie County Public Library. They have been awesome in helping us distribute and getting these glasses to all corners of the county. Besides the public library, we've worked with, over 100 other partners to get these glasses into the community. Again, making this accessible. All we need are these glasses or some other indirect viewing methods to enjoy the solar eclipse. Over the last 6 months, we've also facilitated over 150 programs in the community. Science and safety programs like we see here in the middle, both at schools and in the museum, out in the community. There's free programming at, I think, 30 of the Buffalo and Erie County Public Library branches. And if you ever wanted to know about dinosaurs and eclipses, we also talked about that during our annual Dino Fest. So this will all culminate with, all of this programming culminates with Eclipse-a-Palooza. It is during spring break, April 1st through 7th at the museum. And here we'll have daily activities, family-friendly, good for all ages. And each day we'll have different themed programs and activities. So the museum's open regular hours, activities focused during that 10 to 2 time frame. But again, we really want people to get people prepared and excited for the eclipse that's 13 days away. And we are really excited to have NASA join us for the last 3 days. We are honored to be designated as a subject matter expert site. From April 5th to 7th, we'll have NASA special activities and demonstrations as part of Eclipse-a-Palooza. They'll be joining our staff and partners those 3 days. And then on April 5th and 7th, we have subject matter expert talks. And our spring break programming is presented by NASA, in collaboration with the Buffalo Museum of Science and with generous support from M&T Bank. And we are really happy to be able to offer BPS students free admission from April 5th through the 7th with a student ID. They just have to present that ID. And again, that's from the generosity of M&T Bank. So just a couple examples of these upcoming programs at both BMS and TIFT. Again, just a small portion of what we have going on, but who knows, maybe one of our young visitors during Eclipse-a-Palooza will become the next astronaut, or a young visitor to Curious George will become the next Jane Goodall. If we can inspire a love of science, I think we're doing something right. So thank you. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Well, thank you very much, Holly. That's a great overview and much appreciated. And I like the theme you selected of accessibility. You're located on the east side of Buffalo and the waterfront. And the trick is, how do you make sure you're accessible to the entire community from those two locations? And the programs you're putting on is certainly a great way to invite. Question I have, over the last couple of decades, we've been emphasizing girls, young women, to consider STEM, to science, technology, engineering, math. At another level, have we accomplished what we set out to do? Is there a way to make sure that we're encouraging all kids, not just emphasizing one group over the other, perhaps? And just a comment on that. What's been your experience? Have we succeeded maybe in what we set out to do with STEM and young girls and women?
I think so. I'd like to hope so. I mean, I can never stop, right? We always have to keep striving to do better. But I like to think that we're showing everybody that science, like anyone can be a scientist, whether it's, myself or, I mean, even with the NASA example and Eclipse-a-Palooza, they're NASA, right? They're the leaders in space. But they're still real people. They still have backgrounds. They still have a history. And I hope that by interacting with, our museum staff and our visitors and guests and NASA, that children especially can see that anything is possible.
All children, and that's
all children. Exactly.
So very good. Melissa, do we have some questions from the audience?
Yes, we have one question so far. I know you mentioned that those events heading up to the eclipse are going to be free to Buffalo Public School students, but general question, how does the museum interact with Buffalo Public Schools? Do students often take field trips to the museum? Could you talk a little bit about that?
Yes, so Buffalo Public students there's a few different ways we interact. So one way is that Buffalo Public Schools has what's we refer to as a field trip initiative, where they want all their students to go to various field trips. And different grades are going to different cultural institutions. So I know Buffalo Public Schools, their 5th graders come to the Science Museum, and I believe their 2nd graders go to TIFT. So they're getting, most Buffalo Public Schools kids in those grades get to interact that way with the museum and TIFT. We are also connected to the Charles Drew Science Magnet School, and we do have programming with them throughout the year, as well as other schools in the area.
That is the only question we've received so far, Dennis.
Come on, folks, this is your chance to ask questions of a venerable institution that's really been here for a while. Those collections are something special. Do you still do archaeological digs going down the thruway a bit in an easterly direction? Are you connected with that? I remember years ago that they used to do something. Does that still exist?
Currently, we do not have any active digs going on. We hope that in the future that can expand again. But right now we do not. We do work with, we have a number of research associates. Those are, say, professors at local universities and things that do come in and use our collections and things that had been found at, previously in those digs to further their research. But right now we don't have current digs going on.
And tell us about what you'll be doing on April 8th, how you'll be out and about. The museum may be closed, but you won't be, nor not most of the staff, from what I understand. Give us an example of where you'll be on the 8th of April.
So on April 8th, though the museum will be closed, certain staff members will still be out and about and, talking about the wonder that is the eclipse. So we will have a presence, the Buffalo Museum of Science will have a presence on both WGRZ, WBEN, and WIVB. So whether you want radio or television, we will be there to talk about the science.
Well, people that have experienced a total eclipse say it's an incredible event. You have to get into that total area, not just around the edges. So if you can add a play-by-play color commentary for those that aren't able to make it, I have a feeling you'll be giving expression. It won't be just factual. You're going to be experiencing something, and a great way to relay it on TV or radio, however you're going to be doing that.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. We'll have a variety of topics to talk about. I'd like to think that we're fun. We're making science fun and accessible. So I hope it's an interesting, or it will be an interesting afternoon.
For sure. Getting a sense, I mean, we're all getting inundated with the information, don't go out and about. Do you have a sense of certain gathering spots that you've heard the community is feeling like they should see this together as a community? Are you hearing different spots?
Yes, I'm hearing, people tend to fall into two different categories. Ones that just want to stay home and enjoy it with their friends and family, and others who want to be out with their bigger groups. And, we know that there'll be some gatherings along the waterfront and in downtown and further out into, say, East Aurora and things and locations like that. But it's really fun to see that, to hear what people want, right? That they, just want to be home, enjoy it in the comfort of my home, or out with the large crowd.
It works both ways, a communal experience or an individual one like that.
Yeah.
In the total darkness, what will people feel? A dramatic drop in temperature? And forgetting for the fact that, will it matter whether there's a cloud overhang, or will that really lessen the experience a great deal, or not?
Yeah, so during totality, it will really depend on the cloud cover that day. But during totality, where we can expect kind of twilight type conditions, if it's clear, of course, and the temperature will drop. Other eclipses have shown about a 10-degree drop in temperature, and that'll happen whether it's cloudy or not, right? We'll feel that, and then we can experience potentially changes in animal behavior. Again, fully recognizing it's April 8th, so it depends on what's out by that time. But birds could act differently during that totality and then the reemergence of the sun. But you will definitely feel that temperature drop.
Well, those again that I've heard that have experienced it, Mark Percy said he's been traveling the globe a few times to do just that. It's that powerful an experience. Mm-hmm. What is it about darkness in the middle of the afternoon? Why is that different than every day night scenario that we live through and take so for granted? What do you think is the difference?
I just think that the sun is obviously such a constant in our lives, right? And it's constant that we know it's going to set in the evenings, right? So we're used to that. But to know that there's another celestial body that will move in front of it and completely block it out, I think that's what's awe-inspiring. And we know, again, if it's clear, that we'll potentially be able to see Venus and Jupiter during the middle of the day. Again, I find that really awe-inspiring.
Nice. Well, it's I'm sure you've had a lot of work literally for years in building up to this moment. I'll mention to the audience that Mark Percy spoke in January, and you're more than welcome to go on the library's YouTube channel. And he did a lot of graphic design work to show what physically is happening. But we thought here at this late date, you've heard the folks have heard a lot about this total solar eclipse. It's no secret. A lot of traffic, a lot of concerns, a lot of talk. But now it's time to say, here's the Museum of Science that's just there day in and day out, and it's available, and maybe this event helps pique the interest. So I'll ask Melissa if there's any last questions before we say goodbye, but
Yes,
Melissa?
there are several questions.
Oh, very good. We did our
I just
job.
I didn't want to interrupt.
Go
So
ahead.
could you just briefly go over the timing for the eclipse? Like, what's the best time? You know, when is the totality, and how long will it be dark?
Yeah, so sure. So the times I'm giving are approximate, and they're for Buffalo, right? The Museum of Science, but everything in the region is about the same time, just a few seconds different. So the whole event starts at 2:04 in the afternoon. That's when the moon starts moving in front of the sun. And then for about the next hour and 15 minutes, the moon will gradually move more and more in front of the sun. Totality occurs at 3:18 in the afternoon and lasts just over 3 minutes. Again, depending on where you are, you can look up the exact timing for your area online. And then after totality, it takes about another hour and 15 minutes or so for the moon to move fully out of the sun's way or the sun's disk.
And let me just follow up with that, Melissa, before you do that. During totality, those 3 minutes or thereabouts, can you look at it without glasses then? Or is that safe, or is that still dangerous?
That is an excellent question, and I'm glad you brought that up. So you need either those solar filters or indirect methods for any time the sun is visible. So that is everything except those few minutes of totality. So take your glasses off. Once that's totally covered, you won't be able to see it otherwise. So take your solar eclipse glasses off at 3:18 when totality starts. Enjoy the wonder of a total solar eclipse. The sun's corona should be visible, again, depending on the weather of the day. But and then you'll have to put them back on after totality for that last hour and 15 minutes.
So the corona itself is not harmful to the eye?
No, it is not bright enough. It's not the bright rays of the sun that we normally are used to.
Okay, good. Melissa, carry on.
Just a couple other more general museum questions. Someone was curious if the construction of the Kensington Expressway cover will impact the museum's footprint or access.
I don't know all the details, but we are obviously aware of it, and we'll make sure that we communicate any changes to our visitors and make sure that we stay visible to everybody and tell everybody what's going on during that time.
And just one more question: how does the museum work with its surrounding neighborhood?
There's a number of ways. We have a neighborhood council that advises, gives opinions on what we are doing. We also, as I said, we have the school attached to us as part of the neighborhood, and we work with them. We actively work with neighborhood groups as well, and neighborhood community centers. Those are just some of the ways.
The school connected with you, the Drew Magnet, is that a K through 8? What grade is that?
I think it's 3 through 8th, and then the littler kids are at a different location, just slightly away from it.
Okay, good.
Just down the street, I should say.
Good. Anything else, Melissa?
Those were all the questions.
All right, great. Well, Holly, great overview. I'm happy for you, and I'm glad you'll be our color commentator for a total solar eclipse. How is that? Like a sporting event, we'll imagine it for those couple of hours like that. So thank you folks for joining us, and hope you can join us next week again here on Zoom every Tuesday. And next week we'll be joined by Glenn Jackson. He's the Chief Diversity Officer at M&T Bank. A very timely and important presentation for sure. So we look forward to that. Folks, thank you again for joining us. I'm Dennis Galucki. Be well and good day.